Hey Karam, you guys got a very interesting article in DNA about this Telco deep dive, and one of the things you quoted was this whole thing. The Celcom CEO, he made a very interesting comment about the fact that the top three are not as competitive as other big tier global players, right?
Not so much, not as competitive. He said they've been doing a good job, but without having access to the resources that their peers in other countries.
Correct.
He mentioned Singapore, he mentioned Australia, and he says that the big three in Malaysia have less than half of the spectrum holdings compared to their peers overseas.
So what can we do
because
about that?
Because spectrum is like the highway
Yep.
for all these radio signals to ride on, and he says that they're doing a good job so far with half. And in a sense, what he says is like, look, Celcom has got over 90% of the population of Malaysia covered with 4G. We're not talking about 3G even, 4G. Digi says they have less, that they have under 90%. So under 90% could be 72% lah. I'm kidding lah. But they've got under 90%. Like. These guys have over 90. Maxis is more precise. They say they've got 92% of the population of Malaysia covered with 4G. Okay. So significant, because 4G means data speeds are higher. We could essentially even live stream this over a mobile phone, right?
Yeah.
So Celcom CEO Idham Nawawi says that look, we're doing this despite the spectrum holding, and he suggests that maybe the government should give the tier 1 telcos more of the spectrum and take away the spectrum from existing operators who are not utilizing it.
And there are a lot.
Of course, there are not a lot. There are some spectrum telcos out there, and you could make it. Definitely, ALTEL is one of them, and even YMAX, YTL, I'm not sure. They're trying their best, but are they attracting that many subscribers to the spectrum that they have versus what? But ALTEL is the obvious weak one, right? He's saying, and he's not mentioning them, but he said there are some who are not using their spectrum properly. Give it to those of us who have the track record, who have shown a commitment.
And the capacity,
because it's a key infrastructure for 5G, right, and for the digital economy. And he actually talking about 5G, he mentions that one important spectrum is of course the 700 megahertz, right? Immediately he says that the government has to do early access, give them early access to 700 megahertz, because having this early access can potentially save at least Celcom 500 million ringgit, which is 122 million US in future costs, which then can be used to deliver more value to the market out there. Kind of interesting comments he's made around this. He's saying, we've got a track record, let us do it.
Correct.
And by the way, as a country, if you look at the MCMC, which is the Malaysian Communication Multimedia Commission, their Q3 2018 latest industry analytics or stats show that we've got 135% of mobile phone subscribers. I mean, we're oversubscribed. That means we've got full capacity, full subscription in essence, right? Yeah. Of course, there's still a tiny handful who don't have, and they want to be there, fine. And even more so in terms of broadband coverage, we've got 118.6% broadband penetration.
Really?
But of which more than 90% is mobile broadband.
Okay.
Of course, because it's your 4G,
so
right?
It's double.
So the vast majority of those who've got mobile broadband is of broadband access is through mobile, which is fine all over the world. That's the case.
Yeah.
So the penetration numbers are good, but they can even be better, and the quality has to be much better. And with 5G, you must have no jitter, no lag, because if you're using you're in a car with your family and it's a driverless car, right? You definitely don't want the split second, a network down where they cannot stop because that cat is rushing across the road, right? So a whole bunch of things. And actually, Idham was good. I want you to read the article because he mentioned specifically spectrum bands where he thinks government can do more, even the C band also, which kind of surprised me. So this is an interesting story. You've got from Digi, we had Joachim Rajaram from who's the chief corporate officer, giving Digi's points of view.
So what did he say?
Because there were 6-7 questions, right? So, but he says that he thinks that networks of the future will be much more innovative and technology oriented in delivering value to the market out there. And he said because they don't have as much spectrum as some of the others, maybe, so they got to be. It forces you to be much more creative and innovative.
And they are,
right?
I mean, to some extent, Digi has been very creative in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I reserve comment that because you're good friends with the CEO.
No,
I'm just kidding. Yes, they have been, but maybe it's in their DNA. So coming from Telenor, right? So they have always been, and because they were in early stages, they were the telco with the least spectrum. Forces you, right, to do the best you can. So right now it's much more balanced, and hopefully with 700 megahertz when it comes, and it should be coming at this year because they've already got the 5G pilot test bed for Putrajaya and Cyberjaya set up, and the telcos are going to be working around some case studies around that, and I'm sure when My TV gives up the 700 spectrum they're currently occupying, then the government will definitely give that to the mobile telco players to roll out the digital economy backbone for the country.
Actually, it's going to be a very interesting space to some extent. So many
telco
players.
Space has always been very interesting in Malaysia because our regulator has been interesting in one sense. They felt that the big three were in the very early stages. This is when Tan Sri Noraiza was the chairwoman. And she had told me before that the big three telcos are comfortable. We are trying to push them to do more. They don't want to do more because they are milking the market, right?
Correct.
They are focusing on revenue optimization. So get fed up of telling them to do more. So we allocate spectrum to new players. So your red tone came in, your green packet came in, right?
Yeah.
And the big
so there was some logic in why the spectrum was given out.
But then but I would make personally the case that the logic of giving that now has been turned on its head because the players who got this smaller spectrum have not been able to maximize it because this is a scarce resource.
Correct.
You give it to them, you cannot allocate it to someone else. So I think,
but it's complex because at the same time you could make them fat and lazy again.
No. The government is there to
balance that, right?
Taxes from them. The biggest contributors to the USP Universal Service Provision Fund. No, I actually feel that it makes sense to take away some of the spectrum of those who are not performing, who have not deserved it, and give it to the big three, but with very tight conditions, right? We want impeccable 5G infrastructure across the country. We want to be one of the leading digital economies in the world, and the mobile players provide the hygiene factor, right? The base infrastructure.
Okay. All right. Anyway, we'll see the space, and maybe next time we'll bring in the Celcom CEO and Digi CEO and grill them here.
Yeah, exactly.
We should do that.
Celcom was not the CEO, but it's Joachim. But I'm sure his aspirations to be the next CEO of Celcom.
Digi is Alban, right? So
Alban.
we'll grill them all the next round.
Man,
okay, let's do that.
Right. Thanks.